Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
What's going on, Fantasy Champs? My name's Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always, Poppin' Ricardo.
What's up?
What day is it?
Of the time of our recording?
Yeah, it's Monday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think the show comes out on Wednesday, not gonna lie.
Oh, right. What holiday then is tomorrow? Or what holiday is this week?
The best holiday in the history of the world.
I think that's debatable, but
What?
I do love me some Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, baby! I'm so excited about this show. It is the MEGE Thanksgiving preview. We're gonna break down all of the Thanksgiving games. Give you some insight into what you're gonna be seeing for Thursday night, Thursday day, Thursday afternoon, all of them. There does happen to be a Friday game as well. I don't know if we'll touch on that at all. Probably not. But we're gonna talk about all the games. Should be exciting. Lions, Commanders, they got some dogs.
Dogs.
Should be fun. Should be interesting. Mega Thanksgiving show. Before we do that, check out our website, fantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and any other podcasting platforms, please leave a review. Share this podcast with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Click the bell for notification. Like and comment down below. Rick, favorite Thanksgiving food? Go.
You really had to put me on the spot there.
You should just be able to answer it. We do this every year.
Well, so my family doesn't always make mac and cheese.
What?
But I love mac and cheese because I'm a white guy who likes mac and cheese.
There's a lot. There's probably that's not a racial thing.
Okay. Well, I just like mac and cheese.
He just loves mac and cheese. He's like, it's probably because I'm a white guy.
But my family doesn't always. Because whatever. My family doesn't always make it, so it's not always an option.
So that's not always an option for you.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the squash with the marshmallows on top. I don't know if you're.
I think that's I don't know if that's squash. I think that's sweet potatoes.
Whatever it is. I don't care what it is.
Yeah, that's clutch. Some pecans in there.
Good. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's
like
the
that.
sweet potato casserole type thing. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
I like. My mom always made this. I don't know if this is probably a common thing, but my mom always took the squash, and you smash it up, and you put some cinnamon and sugar in it.
Yeah.
We've
done that in the past.
That's probably one of my favorite food items. I feel like Thanksgiving. Hope mom's not listening to this. But you know what? And I go to multiple people's houses, so this is not like this is not a knock on anyone. Okay. But do you feel like the mashed potatoes at Thanksgiving are always the worst kind of mashed potatoes?
Interesting question.
Like they're always like stale and super starchy and flavorless.
Sometimes. Not every year. Every year is different, but sometimes.
Yeah, so I don't know why. That always happens. And then, like, you know, the rest of the year, whenever anyone makes mashed potatoes, it tastes fine.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving mashed potatoes. I don't know.
There's something off about them?
Something off about them. But if I make Thanksgiving mashed potatoes, they taste fine.
Okay. You make loaded mashed potatoes?
I love a good loaded mashed potato. You get the cheese, sour cream.
Yeah.
Real bacon bits, not those fake ones you buy at Walmart.
What is real ones? Real bacon?
Real bacon.
Okay. Yeah.
And then has your family ever had ham on Thanksgiving?
No. We're always turkey.
I've heard of that. I've heard of ham.
We've had ham dinner for Christmas before.
Yeah. Ham's kind of like the lamest meat. Sorry, hot take.
I used to love ham, bro. I still like ham, not as much as I used to. I think ham tastes so much better than turkey. I'm not gonna lie.
Turkey is.
So this is potentially where my not gripe with Thanksgiving, but why it's not number one for me is the food options on Thanksgiving, like all the vegetables, it's turkey, it's mashed potatoes, none of that stuff is like my favorite foods.
Fair enough.
Cranberry sauce, green beans, corn.
Yeah, but it's something that I never eat normally. Like people go to restaurants and they get the turkey dinner, and I'm like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, that's true.
What you
But
doing?
like that's the thing though. Like 364 days of the year, I could care less about any of that stuff.
I love it. It's the tradition. It's the
No, that is true. That is true.
It's the fireplace crackling while
Yeah.
I watched a not terrible Lions team play football at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So
And the Cowboys.
And then I just like I dieted. I lost a ton of weight. I don't know if you guys remember back 2 years ago, Fat Me.
You were like Greg
on
Bedard, the
YouTube.
big boy.
Yeah, I lost a ton of weight and I feel good now. And Thanksgiving, I just blow it.
Yeah, but if you only do it
If
one
I
day a
want
year-
3 slices of pumpkin pie, I am going to turn myself in to who's that guy on ESPN?
so it narrows it down.
The guy that does the coverage for the NFL draft.
Mel Kiper?
Mel Kiper. He has a pumpkin pie for breakfast every day.
What?
Yes, slice of pumpkin pie for breakfast every day.
Well, he's gonna be dead in like 2 years.
You've never heard of that? They talk
No.
about it almost every year.
That's so insane.
A
What?
slice of pumpkin pie. So if I want to have 3 slices of pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving, I'm going to have 3 slices of pumpkin pie.
Okay. I mean, I can't stop you.
You can't stop you. But anyway, Thanksgiving, best holiday. Not going to lie. It's, that's this is my opinion. But
Fair enough.
we are going to break down this Thursday slate of games and try to give you some insight on whether you should be starting guys, sitting guys, what the situations might be. We're going to try to be expeditious in each breakdown and not spend 2 hours. Yeah? No?
I like it.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Because Rick's got places to be. I got places to be. I kind of have to pee. Not going to lie. But anyway, let's break down the first game. What say you?
Yeah, let's do it.
We're only going to pick for the Thursday night game
Oh, okay.
for our picks.
I was gonna ask you about that.
I mean, we could try all 3, but then we're going to really be screwing things up. So I figure we just do Thursday night game.
That's probably smart.
All right, so the first game, we have the Packers at the Lions. So we got a divisional matchup. Lions looking to go 9-2 in this football game. 9-2. Packers are looking to not suck.
The Packers are coming off a win though.
They're 4-6.
Yep.
Oh, good. Push them back. You guys don't get a quarterback. We get a quarterback.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll break down the Packers first. But before we do that, the over/under for this game is 47 points. That's strong. It's a strong point out.
That might be an under.
Yeah, I might take the under on that. I can't remember what the Thanksgiving games typically end up being.
They're usually under, I feel like.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. All right, let's talk about the Packers. Quarterback, they got Jordan Love, who coincidentally started the season nicely.
He did.
And then
Sucked.
yeah, and then he got terrible all of a sudden. So he has had some good fantasy performances and matchups. I probably should go to a league that's not 4-point touchdowns. I'll do that right now. 5-point touchdowns.
I have him in the League of Ordinary Gentlemen Dynasty.
Okay. But he had, so this is his numbers on the season for the first 4 games, 22, 20, 25, 19. Then he had 8 against the Raiders. Since the bye week, he's had 17, 15, 14, 18, and 20. So, he's been streamable, and he's been a guy that, consistently gets you a decent point output for the most part. But he's going up against the Lions, who are one of the better defenses in the NFL. So if you look at him, to me, Jordan Love is probably a sit this week. If you're streaming him, because most likely that's what you do with Jordan Love. So I would sit him this week on Thursday Night Football. I know you're going to want to throw him in your lineup and watch him, but that's what DraftKings Sportsbook is for.
Exactly. There you go.
Make some bets.
Yeah, but the amount of quarterback injuries though this year, I feel like Jordan Love he's approaching starting territory for your fantasy team because he could be 11.
Right.
But I would probably agree with you. I wouldn't. I don't think it's the smartest bet to start Jordan Love against the Lions. It's a tough matchup. It's in Detroit. That said, I have this thing with Thursday night football in general, or any primetime games in general, but I think it's amplified on Thanksgiving. And I think more people agree with me when it comes to a Thanksgiving games. Don't you want to have players in your lineup?
Yeah, that's why I said gamble.
Yeah, I know.
Bro, it's week 12. We got 3 games left in the regular season. Why are you taking risks because you want to watch guys on Thanksgiving?
I would do both because that's just who I am. There's no controlling it.
You're unbelievable.
But you're probably right. The smart play is he's probably not a start. But.
Yeah. All right. Aaron Jones blew his leg up, I believe.
Yeah, he did. But I guess the MRIs came back and it's not as bad as because they thought he tore his ACL.
Yeah.
But apparently he did not tear his ACL. And that the MRI was negative, but he probably sprained it or did something.
Yeah.
He's probably gonna miss this week regardless.
Okay. Which leaves you with AJ Dillon.
Yeah.
And what are your feelings on AJ Dillon? You going with him in this game or no?
He had a solid 14 carries for 29 yards and 2 yards a carry this week.
Oh my God, he's so bad.
So I would prefer not to start him even with Jones out, but you could be very handicapped, and in which case he's not like the worst play in the world. But yeah. I don't.
I think there's going to be a lot of excitement for Aaron Jones because it's like, I mean, not Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, because it's like, Jones has been the guy and Dillon hasn't been the guy, and now Dillon's like, he's like the Madison and Pollards of a couple of years ago where they were. Yeah,
but AJ Dillon has had opportunities this year with Aaron Jones out of the lineup.
Yeah, he hasn't been good. But people are going to be like, oh my God, yeah, I got AJ Dillon. I mean, it's a good start. Well, Detroit Lions give up 14.7 fantasy points to the running back position, which is like top 6 toughest matchup. I'd probably sit Dillon in this game. I'm not taking that risk. If you got bye weeks and there's no one on the waiver wire and like this is the only option, then whatever. But if you have a choice between AJ Dillon and another guy who has a better matchup, I would pivot to the other guy with a better matchup.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right, let's talk about wide receivers. 3 guys have been fantasy. Well, actually, 2 guys have been fantasy relevant. Dobbs has really not been fantasy relevant for the most part.
Dobbs has been good, bro.
I'm sorry.
What? Christian Watson's been the one that's
poopy. Well, not this week, bro. All right, so we have 4. 3 guys. Sorry, not 4. So I guess wide receiver 32 is what you would say fantasy relevant. Romeo Dobbs. Yeah. He's had 18, 5, 18, 18, 1, 11, 11, 6, 12, and 16. So he's put together in PPR some decent performances on the season. And he's been a little bit of a flex. But this is another one of those guys like you're playing Detroit, and Detroit has been a tough defense for a majority of the season. Now, with that being said, they're kind of middling when it comes to facing the wide receiver position. So you might be okay starting a guy like that in your flex, but yeah. So Dobbs is okay.
He's okay. I don't love it. He's kind of touchdown reliant.
Yep.
He has a lot of touchdowns this year. And I say a lot, but he's had, I think, 6.
Yeah.
He's 7 touchdowns this year.
That's
so
a lot. Yeah.
That is a lot. So I don't love that. And against Detroit, I don't know if he gets one. It will be a good game script, though, for the receivers. So if you want to start Dobbs at your flex, I think that's okay.
Another guy who is 3 spots like worse than Romeo Dobbs, wide receiver 35, Jaden Reed. He's come out. He's had 6, 19, 9, 9, 1, 11, 12, 7, 18, 19. So the last 2 weeks he's had some really good performances.
Had a good stretch since the bye week, too.
Yeah, he's had a good stretch since the bye week. I would put him in the same conversation as Dobbs. If you have him, and you need a start this week at wide receiver because of bye weeks and stuff, I wouldn't judge you for starting him, but I'm not excited about that either.
Yeah, no, I'd agree, but I agree. He's kind of the same as Dobbs, where like you can put him in your flex, feel fine about it, but he's not someone that you're going out of your way to start.
Yeah. Another guy that took the most draft capital to get, Christian Watson. Boy, oh boy. Since he missed the first 3 weeks of the season, since week 4, he's had 10, 11, 5, 6, 4, 4, and then 10 this week catching a touchdown. So the other two have been clearly much better. I don't take the risk on Christian Watson. The only thing you get starting Christian Watson is maybe the touchdown upside, because that's what he has had success with for the most part.
Yeah.
So Watson, while you spent a lot of draft capital on him, and you probably want to throw him in your starting lineup this week and watch him play, he's, out of all three of these guys, probably the one that you sit.
Agreed, and he's the biggest disappointment. I drafted him, thought he could be a wide receiver too, and he just has not been that. Been very disappointed this season with him. And I actually have Jaden Reed and Christian Watson in our home league, and I would rather Jaden Reed than Christian Watson at this point in the season.
Who's starting, Romeo Doubs or Jaden Reed?
If I had the choice,
Yeah,
I would start Jaden Reed.
Okay.
I wouldn't even think twice about it at this point.
And then at tight end, they have Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft. Musgrave is probably the guy that you're looking for, but Tucker Kraft apparently did some things last week.
He almost scored a touchdown, I think.
Yeah. So he didn't do anything last week. But Musgrave has been a guy that has given you some okay fantasy performances. He's kind of just I would say a shot play if you really don't have a tight end. I wouldn't start him this week against Detroit, but it's up to you.
So are we saying the only Packers players worth starting is basically nobody, but maybe Romeo Doubs and
Jaden Reed?
Yep.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Yeah,
It's disgusting. All right. Let's talk about a football team that actually has some weapons here that we can play around with. A lot of them. Detroit Lions. I'm excited to watch this game. This is the first time the Detroit Lions have been 8-2 since 1960.
Yeah.
Something stupid like that.
Yeah, it was 1960.
I was thinking about it the other day. Jared Goff has been great for this football team, but imagine if they had a real quarterback.
Oh, seriously.
Yeah, they'd be ridiculous. But anyway, Jared Goff is their quarterback going up against the Packers. Now, the Packers are the opposite. They're the counter Lions at this point. The Packers haven't been really good in any aspect of football this season. They're middle of the pack when it comes to stopping quarterbacks. They only really give up 14 to 15 fantasy points per game, so it's not going to be an easy game for Jared Goff to get fantasy points. And the Thursday factor where they get short rest might be an issue with Goff, but I don't know. It's a Thanksgiving day. It's Thanksgiving Day. You're playing. People are excited about that. You don't, as a kid growing up.
You think it has something their numbers have a little something to do with the fact that they've been trailing a lot in games, and because of that, the quarterbacks they've played against haven't really thrown the ball much against them? Or are they just playing well against quarterbacks?
That could be the case, but I don't think that would be it.
Genuine question. I don't know.
But Jared Goff is QB 12. He's had some good games. He's been kind of consistently at 15 to 18 fantasy points with a bunch of 20-point games in there. Starting him this week against Green Bay, right now I think he's probably going to get 18 to 19 fantasy points, so he'll be somewhere in that vicinity. And I think he would be a fine play. So if you have Jared Goff, you can play him this week. But yeah, I don't think Green Bay is going to be an issue.
Yeah, no, I would probably agree. I have a really tough decision to make in my home league this week, so he's an option.
Oh, but you're going to start Jared Goff this week?
Yeah, I am kind of I feel like I'm at the time of the year again where I'm retiring from my home league and just going to Dynasty again, but for another day, I guess.
Yeah, for real. All right, let's talk about the running backs. Rick, enlighten us with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. What are you doing with these guys?
I mean, the way that they operate, they're both probably starts. Montgomery gets the goal line carries, and he's been pretty good at when he gets the ball. He doesn't get any receiving work or very minimal, so it has to be pure on the ground. It's kind of like Jamal Williams last year. And then Gibbs, but he still gets start every week. And then Gibbs is kind of the same thing, especially if you're in PPR leagues. And this is kind of the way we thought going into the year. This is at least the way I thought they would both be used in terms of touches. I knew Montgomery would probably get the goal line work, but I thought Gibbs was going to still get like 15 touches a game at
Mhm.
least because of his receiving, and that's what he's been doing. The last couple of weeks, 6 and 5 targets. Um, Gibbs since week 7 has gotten at least 21 fantasy points in every single week.
Wow.
Um, he's on a stretch. Remember the beginning of the year where he was like RB like 40 or
Yeah.
30 something? He's now RB7, flying up. He's going to finish the year as an RB1, and probably a top 10 back. So good things for both Gibbs and Montgomery. I think they're both starts.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. He's
Their
got
whole offense is uh, based on those two guys,
Yeah, for
based on
sure.
running the
Like if you
football.
just watch the game, Green Bay Packers give up 20 fantasy points a game to the running back position. So it is going to be. I think they'll score. The two guys will score more than that because it's how their off. Like Rick said, how their offense really operates. But um, if you split that right down the middle, they'll probably both be somewhere in the vicinity of I want to say like 14, 15 points if we're being safe. I know Gibbs has been
Yeah.
going off for 4 straight weeks here. I would say he's probably curious
Yeah,
to
you
see,
don't.
but
I wouldn't expect him to get 5 straight weeks of 20 plus points.
yeah, I mean, if he does that, gee whiz. But in PPR leagues from week 8 to 11 here, Jahmyr Gibbs he had a bye week in the stretch of games, and he is the running back too, averaging 25 points per game. So he's
With a
been
bye week included.
with a bye week included. The only guy that's ahead of him is Rashad White, who did not have a bye week. So he's been going off the last couple weeks. It's been impressive to see. So I don't expect him to get 20 points again, but he should be all right. I like both of these guys, like Rick said. Wide receivers, we have a couple of guys, and by a couple of guys I mean one. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's gonna be a role. Like you're gonna start him no matter what. But what are the expectations for Amon-Ra against the Green Bay Packers?
Um, it's still pretty high. I know. I think the Packers have done a decent job against receivers,
Yeah,
but the way Amon has played this year, he's a wide receiver one. His lowest scoring game, dude, is 13 fantasy points the entire year. That's his worst game of the season.
are you kidding
He
me?
has been a fantasy. He's a PPR machine. We knew that going into the year, but he really, really is. He gets a minimum of 5 catches a game at the absolute worst.
Yeah.
But he's had weeks this year. He has a game with 19 targets. Like he's just a machine. I would expect about 20 fantasy points from him in that range,
Mm-hmm.
and for him to continue to eat.
Okay. Yeah, I totally agree. The Green Bay Packers, while they haven't been horrible against the receiving core, they still give up 23.6 points per game to the receivers. So I think Amon-Ra will have a really good game. Jameson Williams this week caught a touchdown, by the way. He had 11,
He did.
11
Second
12,
of the year.
I think 12 fantasy points, 2 catches, 3 targets.
Yeah. That's
I
where
will
he's
say
been
one
at.
thing that has been increasing for JMO is the not that
Snap
we need
percentage.
is the snap
I
percentage.
do hope by the end of the year that goes up. He was brutal though when they gave him opportunities earlier in the year, but I do hope that they continue to give him opportunities and that he starts improving because he is ridiculously talented.
Yeah, he has caught in the last 3 games. He's had 8 targets and 6 catches. So
Whoa.
better than
6 catches in 3 games.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I actually think that he's starting to get like he had since the start of the season 47 since his start of the season in week 5 he's had 47, 23, 44, 40% snap percentage, went on the bye, came back, had 52% snap percentage and then 65% snap percentage. So like
I will say if they want to be at that 49ers level, that
they need to
Eagles
get
level,
this guy involved.
he needs to be involved in their offense.
So, hey, maybe we'll get some big plays out of Jameson Williams coming into this game. But
There you go.
Anyway, yeah. So that's the Detroit Lions. They do have Sam Laporta, who at this point is a top 5 tight end in fantasy football. He did have a bust game this week, but I would play him no matter what.
Yeah, he should still be started no matter what.
Green Bay, just to give you some insight, give up 8 fantasy points a game to the tight end position. Right now, I think he's projected at 8 or 9. So
I think he gets like 10 points.
He's a good play. And he gets targeted a lot, so there's that. Okay, there's your Detroit Lions, and there's game one. Off the record, unofficial. Who you got in this game?
Probably the Lions.
Yeah, I got Detroit as well.
I think it is a sneaky upset though for the Packers.
Okay.
Sneaky upset spot, but I'm still taking the Lions.
Okay, let's move to the next one. Commanders at Cowgirls.
Oh wow, you said Cowgirls. This is your team too, dude. Come on.
I don't like the Cowboys, but a nice two
do.
very nice divisional. Like, stop. You see, this is what
You
I do.
do.
This is what I do with you with the Jets.
Yeah, I guess.
He's like, yeah, I guess. But we'll start with the Commanders. Rick's wet dream is becoming a reality with Sam Howell.
Okay, well, let's not get crazy.
He loves himself some Sam Howell. On the season, Sam Howell is QB4. So that's a little wild. Do you want to know his? I just gonna give you his pass attempt numbers since week 4. 41, 51, 23, 42, 52, 45, 44, 45. His arm's gonna fall off.
They should not be giving this dude 50 pass attempts a game.
That's absurd. He had a terrible game this Sunday, threw 3 picks against the New York Giants. It was brutal. I think he also lost too, but still had 22 fantasy points. So there's that. Hal's an interesting guy. I mean, at this point, like, people kind of just glaze over with Hal, but he's only had like 3 bust games on the year. Week 1 where he had 15, week 3 where he had 5, and then week 7 against the Giants where he had 10. Outside of that, the rest of the games, he's had 21, 21, 28, 18, 35, 20, 24, and 22. So he's had some really good performances like this season, making him the QB4. At this, like, when do we hit a crossroads where Hal just becomes a start on a week-to-week basis?
I think it's already happened.
Okay. Because I'm not even thinking about him in that way, but I haven't played him in a league where Sam Howell has been a dude where people have just been starting him.
I think in our league, has he been the starter? No, I guess he hasn't. Yeah, I don't know. I think in a lot of leagues, especially 12-person leagues, 12-team leagues, he's been a starter every single week the last probably 3 or 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. That said, do you really want to do that against Dallas this week?
No.
I don't either.
No, I don't want to take the risk.
You say, all I've ever said about Sam Howell was that I thought he would be fantasy relevant because the weapons around him and that he rushes.
I don't know, dude. You sounded pretty in love.
I think he's okay. I think he's okay. I don't think he's good. Let's just get that clear. I don't think he's like this great quarterback. I would take him over Kenny Pickett. Okay. So I do think he's the best quarterback in that draft class, which is not saying much.
Whoa!
But I don't think he's like some top 10, even probably top 15 quarterback in the league.
Yeah, he does have on the season here in 11 games, 3,000 yards, 18
He does.
touchdowns,
He leads the NFL in passing yards, though.
Yeah. Yep.
If
he ends with 4,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, he needs to clean up the interceptions. But
they got something.
They got something there.
But it's weird because he against the Giants this year, he has 1 touchdown and 4 interceptions. But then against the Eagles, who I know they have struggled against quarterbacks, but they're a good football team. 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. So it's like he plays up to his competition almost. But then again, he played against the Bills and threw 4 interceptions.
So you're not starting him this week, though?
At the end of the day, no.
Okay.
But you might not be in that position. Let's say your 2 quarterbacks were Joe Burrow and Sam Howell.
Yep.
Howell's probably going to be better than anyone you're going to get on the waiver wire, I would say. But I would not start Howell.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Let's talk about the running backs. Gibson, I would stay away from against Dallas. I think he's not a go, and he really I know a lot of people have been throwing him in their starting lineups on given weeks because they needed a guy, but he sucks.
Yeah,
keep him on your line. Brian
had 16 points last week.
Hey, Brian Robinson actually has been relatively good in PPR leagues. Brian Robinson is the RB4 on the season. So he's been pretty good for fantasy football. He's been
Kevin
producing.
Howell, dude, what's going on?
I know, what is this? And actually, when it's all said and done, he is averaging 4 yards a carry. So he doesn't even suck like he did before. Everyone's been saying to sell him for a while, but he's been putting up some good performances against Dallas, though. I think it's a really tough matchup. I don't think he's going to produce at a high clip, but based on the fact that he's the RB4 on the year, and
he's in your lineup
and has been really good, he's got to be in your lineup at this point.
Yeah.
I just think the expectations, like right now, Sleeper has him at like 9 projected fantasy points.
Yeah, I think that's probably accurate.
Yeah, that's probably accurate. Like he'll probably hit 10 points or at 4 o'clock. You're gonna be swearing at the TV. There's gonna be absolutely no reason for you to be, enjoying Brian Robinson play. But then he'll score 2 touchdowns, and you'll be like, "What the crap?"
Yeah, I think he's gonna probably get like 10 points, but you have to start him at this point. He's the RB4 in the year. He might even be the RB1 on your fantasy team. So he's a must start, but I don't feel good about it.
Okay. All right. There's 2 guys on this team that you could start at receiver. It's Terry McLaurin. It's Jahan Dotson. Dotson, the last 2 weeks has been abysmal to watch. He has like a total of 5 targets after getting targeted 3 straight weeks of like 9 times or more. So that is the risk that you run. I've started him 4 weeks in a row here, or 3 weeks in a row, because bye weeks are terrible, and he's not great. So I would sit Dotson
you
against
sit on
Dallas.
3 of the 2 week or 2 of the 3 weeks though.
No, you good. But I would sit Dotson.
Yeah, I probably would too. Even the other guy we'll talk about, McLaurin.
Yeah, I was gonna say McLaurin. What are your thoughts on McLaurin too?
It's the same thing. Like, it's so disgusting to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't watch a ton of Commanders, but like when I do put it on, it's like DeWanne Brown gets targets.
Mm-hmm.
Curtis Samuel gets targets. They use like 5 different receivers. They legit have 5 receivers that get like at least 2 targets every single week.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's so disgusting. And McLaurin gets targets, but if he doesn't get a touchdown, like he lives at like 9 fantasy points.
Hey, like,
that's what it seems like.
the enemy, do you know that you don't have to, you have a star wide receiver?
Yeah, just use McLaurin and Dotson. Like, why don't they just do 2? I mean, Curtis Samuel.
It's honestly because last season, Eric Bieniemy saw that Mahomes was throwing it to everyone, was like, that's a good idea. No, it's not a good idea.
Like, you have 2 really, really good receivers, and Curtis Samuel is a good wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
So, like, those are your 3 guys. Don't use anyone else.
Right. I do have low, and then just the tight end position, Logan Thomas. If you want to start him, I guess you could, but he's kind of been on the downswing the last couple of weeks, so I wouldn't jump all over Logan Thomas if you have a better option.
I mean, we didn't say that. Would you start McLaurin? I mean, he probably.
Yeah, I probably would, just a sheer boom play. But
he's another guy who's like Brian Robinson, where he's a must start guy, but I don't feel great about it.
Yeah. I don't feel good about any of these guys. I actually feel like the Commanders probably will get their pants taken off on live television.
I agree, but when you think that the most, the Commanders show up.
That's true. We'll find out. We'll see.
They're going to lose that game, though.
Well, let's talk about Dallas real quick. I feel like the first 2 games, we've had a lot of guys that have been discussionable. But this team doesn't at this point have a whole ton of guys. The Commanders on the season have been all right defensively. They haven't. They've been bad. So I'll take all that.
And they lost Chase Young and
and they lost Chase Young. So basically, they give up a lot of fantasy points to the receivers. They give up a lot of fantasy points to quarterbacks. They now give up a lot of fantasy points to running backs because they don't have anyone to stop
their defense sucks.
And they give up a lot of fantasy points to the tight end position. Their defense sucks. So just going through this, it'll be really fast. Dak's a go, and I feel like he'll have a good game at home on Thanksgiving.
Dude, it's funny, Dak. After the first 5 weeks of the season, people were saying like he's a bust and all this stuff.
He's cooking.
He's now in the MVP conversation in the NFL. How gross is that?
That is disgusting. That's poopy, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dak's a go. Pollard is got to be a go as well. He had finally a good week this week. He gets too much opportunity to not run him out there. And it's a good matchup against the Commanders. So I would expect Pollard to come out and have another good week. But I just, if he has 2 good back-to-back weeks, then Pollard's back. If he doesn't, then I'm dead inside.
Is he back or is he playing against really bad teams?
He's playing against really bad teams. I don't care. Bro, do I care?
No, but
I
I'm
just need
saying, like,
fantasy
so you're gonna
points.
feel
I need fantasy
if he
points.
goes out and gets 15 points against Washington, are you gonna be confident against Philly?
No, but it's a divisional matchup.
Okay.
He's already had a good game against Philly this year. By good game, I mean like 10.
Okay. What about Buffalo?
Buffalo's not good defensively. Well, that's strong, but they can run.
Aren't they good against running backs?
No.
So is Seattle good against running backs?
They're okay.
I know he has like one dark red. I have to look it up.
Listen, I don't care. Just get me fantasy points, Tony. That's all I need. But anyway, I would start him. CeeDee Lamb's another go. Good expectations for him as well, considering how things went. But let's take a look at another guy that's been getting some opportunity, Brandon Cooks. What are your thoughts on Brandon Cooks?
Well, first of all, CeeDee Lamb is like the wide receiver one in fantasy almost since coming off the bye. I think he probably is the wide receiver one in fantasy since coming off the bye. Brandon Cooks, I would probably not start him, but he's so inconsistent. Like, if you have 2 bye weeks and you have 2 flex spots and you're a 12-team league, then yeah, go ahead and start him in your flex. But if you have the luxury to not start him, don't start him.
Okay, what about Jake Ferguson, tight end?
Probably not.
Okay. All right, this is the Dallas Cowboys. Lots of good players in this particular game.
Actually, Ferguson might be, yes. Just looking at his stats.
Who do you got in this game? Commanders, Cowboys? I'll take the Cowboys.
Cowboys are going to win.
So, yeah, we got Lions and Cowboys together on this. Me and Rick ain't disagreeing. Final game, Thursday night. This is where the pick actually matters.
Yep.
49ers at Seahawks. 43.5 point over under. I don't know, man. I'm gonna smash that over. I'm not.
Yeah, I agree. I would take the over.
Low. That's kind of low. 49ers got back on track the last couple weeks, getting some wins. They need desperately a division win this week to kind of keep themselves on track for the playoffs and have a chance here with the Purdster at starting quarterback. But let's walk through this team really fast. We have Brock Purdy at quarterback. Purdy had a really good week this past week. I think it was 26.7 fantasy points would put him at QB2 on the week. This is a pre-recorded episode, so if Monday Night Football changed any of that, then
which it probably would because it's Mahomes and Hurts.
But Purdy had a good week this week nonetheless. Going up against this Seattle Seahawks, defense, what are your expectations for Brock Purdy?
I don't love that matchup. I think the Seahawks defense has been pretty good. It's in Seattle. But the last couple of years, Kyle Shanahan has owned the Seahawks. So I have mixed feelings about it. I would love your thoughts, though, since I have Brock Purdy and Jared Goff, and I don't know who to start every single week.
Honestly, I would start Jared Goff.
I've been starting Goff, and Purdy the last 2 weeks has outscored him.
Yeah, see that now you're chasing fantasy points. This is the bad. You're putting yourself in a bad situation. So I'd start. Yeah. I'd probably, if I had to pick a guy, I'd probably start Jared Goff this week.
Okay.
But with things getting back on track for Brock Purdy, he does have some good fantasy weeks. He throws a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns. So I just don't think he can throw 303 again in 3 straight weeks. I mean, he might do it, but I think you're going to see more of like a 2-touchdown game for like 225 yards or something like that. I think the Thursday bug will bite him. And while he'll still be around 20 fantasy points probably this week, I don't think it's going to be like a lock.
Yeah, no, I agree.
He's QB9 on the season, though.
Yeah?
Maybe you should start him. I don't know. It's even.
I know, they're the same. Purdy the last 2 weeks has outscored him.
But like I said, the Thursday night football game factor kind of like screws me up a lot. So, anyway.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey is a run, and he should be fine in this game.
What does he have, like 20 straight games with a touchdown?
No.
Or did that streak break?
That streak broke, yeah.
Oh.
He's done with that.
But he scored 2 touchdowns this week, didn't he? Or 1 touchdown?
Yeah, something like that. Gone are the days where running backs scored as much as Christian McCaffrey.
I know, seriously. 14 touchdowns already.
You remember when the RB 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 had like 16 touchdowns?
Yep.
That doesn't happen anymore. Yeah, so Christian McCaffrey, good to go. You have Brandon Ayuk, you have Deebo Samuel. These two guys, usually go out there. Brandon Ayuk is a start on a week-to-week basis, usually as a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy football. Deebo Samuel, on the other hand, has had some really good weeks. You're obviously starting him, but what are your expectations for these two men?
Yeah, Ayuk, as you said, is a start every week. Debo's a little concerning. Um, like he doesn't get the targets or catches, but they do use him in the run game, so like he's still like 9 points this week was I feel like probably the lowest he's gonna get. Actually, Debo might be due for a big game now that I'm thinking about it because
Yeah.
Kittle, the 49ers will always have like Kittle will go off and get like 25 fantasy points. And last week Ayuk went off 26 fantasy points.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Debo might be due this week for like a 20+ week.
I hope not, because I want Brandon Ayuk to go off.
Well, maybe they both go off.
I need this Thursday night football game. I'll be glued to the television watching Brandon Ayuk. And then at the tight end position, we have George Kittle, who is another guy that's just a go at this point against Seattle.
Yeah, he's a top 5 tight end.
I can't tell you whether I expect him.
3 straight 20-point weeks for George Kittle.
Oh, so this is going to be a bust week. I can feel
it. Yeah,
this
might be a week where he gets 2 fantasy points.
All right, let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks really fast as we're running out of time here. We have Geno Smith. He's not been the same quarterback he was last year in terms of fantasy football. He is questionable for this game, but he should be able to play according to Pete Carroll. On the season, he's QB 19, so he hasn't by any means been a starting quarterback on a week-to-week basis.
Definitely dropped off from what he was last year.
Against San Francisco, it's tough. It's a tough matchup. It's not a week that you want to be running Geno Smith out in your lineup. And I would say, like, while he hasn't really had a bad season in real life terms, it hasn't been great for that, but it's been okay. He just hasn't been there for fantasy football. He's had some good weeks and some bad weeks, but he's streamable against good matchups. The next 2 weeks against San Francisco, Dallas, or next 3 weeks against San Francisco, Dallas, and San Francisco.
Their schedule, man, is so brutal. Man,
Philly, yeah, this is not a good stretch of 4
games. San Fran twice, Dallas, Philly.
Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me if Geno's at like QB 25 by the end of the year or something like that for fantasy football. That's brutal. But with that being said, yeah, I'd sit him against San Francisco this week.
Yeah, this is a tough matchup for him and a lot of the Seahawks players, but for Geno especially. So I would also sit him this week.
Kenneth Walker moving to the running backs. He could miss some time with an oblique strain. They said on Sunday that the oblique strain was, quote, legit. I would assume that since this game is on Thursday, that Kenneth Walker will be out. He is listed as doubtful so far, so unless he gets upgraded to questionable, there's a less than 20% chance that he plays this week. So he will be out, which leaves us with Zach Charbonnet getting one of his first. Well, I think he started another week, but getting some opportunity. This past week, at 85% of the snaps, more specifically because Kenneth Walker went down. 15 carries, 47 yards, 6 targets, 6 catches, 22 yards. So inefficient.
That's really efficient.
Really inefficient. But he is going to get a lot of the work. Against San Francisco, though, this is going to be one of the waiver wire pickups of the week. This is going to be one of those guys everyone's talking about because he's getting the start over Kenneth Walker, and he's a rookie, and they drafted him high, and he's had some good. This week wasn't good, but he's had some good weeks when given some opportunity. Against San Francisco, though, I just don't see it as a viable play.
Yeah, I agree, but I think I would still probably say he's a start. Just because he's going to get 15, at minimum 15 touches, he's probably going to get 20 touches.
Yeah.
So if you're going to get a guy that you know is going to get 20 touches at the running back position, I think that's probably a decent start, but he's probably going to be really inefficient again. So we'll see
so for me,
how that goes.
Devin Singletary.
Yeah.
Has been going off on my team, my fantasy team. Now, I don't know if Dameon Pierce is back next week or if the Texans are on a bye or what. But if I have to choose between Zach Charbonnet and Devin Singletary as my last flex, I'm going to pick wrong.
Yeah, he will.
I will pick wrong on that.
100%.
But yeah, Zach Charbonnet. I personally, I would say if there's an opportunity to sit him, I would, just because of the toughness of the matchup. You know what I mean? Like everyone is gonna think that he is Kenneth Walker light or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, or that he can just replace him. And you're right, the volume is gonna be there, but the question is, if the efficiency's not there, then it really won't matter at the end of the day.
It will if he's getting 6 catches.
That's true. In PPR, yeah, that's true. All right, let's move to the wide receiver position. We got DK Metcalf and Hot Lockett. Metcalf is always around wide receiver 15 every week. So he's a guy that you could probably roll in your lineup and
he's
feel
probably
okay
a must
about.
start even.
Yeah, he's a must start no matter what.
Yeah.
Lockett is, kind of like one of those boom or bust kind of plays, like he has always been. He's wide receiver 24 on the season, so he's had a lot of really good games, and he's been consistent. But against tougher matchups, like against Baltimore, against the Rams, he has kind of had bust games. So going up against San Fran, I don't feel confident in starting Lockett. I don't even frankly feel confident about DK Metcalf's performance against San Francisco, but it should be interesting to see how these guys play. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would say Metcalf is a start, and then Lockett. he's another one of those guys where it's like you don't feel good about starting him. If you have a stacked team, you got some depth, go ahead and start somebody else. But you're likely in a scenario where you have to start Lockett as well.
Okay. And then tight end, they have Noah Fant.
Not going to bring up JSN?
No.
Dude, he's been good since the bye. He's been okay. He's been solid.
I don't want to start him against San Fran. That's why I didn't mention
it. I mean, we could get to that, but yeah.
He's wide receiver 51. He had 16, 12, 12, but he's also had 8, 9, and 7 since the bye.
8, 16, 12, 12, 9, 7. That's like a flex. He's been a flex.
I mean, I guess.
But I wouldn't say no, I wouldn't start him.
That's not a flex, bro. That's like a low end play. It's like
he could get 16 or he could get 8.
Things must be really bad over there on the home team.
I'm just saying, bro, 16 or 8 points, like that's the range of a flex.
Is it though? Wide receiver 51 should not be your
No, he's wide receiver 51 because the first 5 weeks of the season
he's getting 5 points. Look at the rest of his numbers. He hasn't been great. 12 fantasy points in 3 weeks. That's like okay.
I'm saying like before if you ignore the first 5 weeks of the season, just look at him from week 6 on. Okay. He's okay.
All right, let's do it then.
He's wide receiver 51 because he was getting 50% of the snaps to begin the year, and the team wasn't using him. Now the team is using him. Look at his snap percentage; it's gone up.
I don't know, man. I'm
not telling you he's elite, but he should at least be. His name should at least be worth mentioning over freaking Noah Fant.
He's well. I have to mention the tight end and
say. Well, guess what? Noah Fant sucks, and you shouldn't touch him with a 50-foot pole. Jackson Smith and Jigba is at least on fantasy teams.
Yeah, well, he's not a start though. That's what I'm arguing.
No, he is not a start. I agree.
He's been wide receiver 26 on the season. Now Garrett Wilson, who you've been trotting out in your lineup every week, is wide receiver 25 in that stretch.
Exactly. Jason's a flex since the bye.
Yeah, I just think he's been okay. So it's like, I mean, he can be a start maybe, but I passed up on him because I just don't think it's like again San Francisco's not even worth mentioning.
No.
Noah Fant happens to be I was about to say this.
I think
Noah Fant happens to be a tight end on the Seattle Seahawks, and no tight ends on this team are startable.
But I
think... you gotta let me finish my statement.
Okay, sorry.
And no one on this team is no one at the tight end position for Seattle is startable.
I just think JSN's worth mentioning because I think by the end of the year he's going to be a wide receiver 2 over Lockett.
I don't think so.
I think he's outplaying him.
You got to see. You're going back to last year's scouting is what you're doing.
Yeah, maybe I am. I don't know.
But anyway, all right. So I like I said, I take the over in this game because 43.5 is low for the 49ers Seahawks games. I mean, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Who you got in this game?
This is really tough because I want to say the Seahawks because it's a must-win game for them. It's at home, divisional game, all those things. I'm going to go 49ers, though. I think Kyle Shanahan historically owns Pete Carroll, so give me the 49ers. And they're a better football team.
I believe we both got it right last week. So that would be 8-3.
What was last week's Thursday football? Bengals,
Uh,
Ravens. No, we got it wrong.
wait, we did?
Yeah, I'm not undefeated anymore. We both said the Bengals. But does it count? Joe Burrow freaking got hurt in
Yeah,
the
it does count.
second quarter.
It does count.
If we knew Joe Burrow would get hurt in the first half,
It counts.
Okay, whatever.
49ers, though, I take the 49ers as well.
Yeah.
So Rick and I both have the 49ers for this game. Any more thoughts about Thanksgiving, about this weekend, about anything?
No, I would just say go enjoy the food, go enjoy your family, and most importantly, go enjoy some football.
I hope I get a fantasy win this week, or at least get some fantasy points in the Thursday night games.
It's all about the dynasty leagues for me.
Have a nice one, guys. Enjoy your Thanksgiving.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube, and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.